Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Hit the wrong button. I was trying to flip the camera around and there's not an undo for hitting finish. Oops. So anyway, since this is the Rubicon, it has the wide flares. So the flare is going to poke out just a whisker. Yeah, thanks for coming back, guys. Hit the wrong button. Let's flip this around again. We're a little not as bright on this side. So you can see the start of what we're thinking. This is our JL Adventure slider. So the front's going to be the same. Comes right out there from the end of the pinch seam. There we go, pretty square. So you got lots of room for a bigger tire. If for the guys that are running 40s, the 40s will clear. No worries. Let's walk back here a ways. And there is a good visual of a difference between a JL and a JT. About 16 inches. So, Chris, how are you? So obviously we're going to add some length to our base tube. One of the body mounts, or one of our frame mounts, works. So this one right below the door handle, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there's a bracket in there. So from there forward is sort of JL the same. Not quite. The factory added, I'm assuming, because I haven't seen one, I don't think anybody's seen one yet. Yeah, guys in Michigan have seen them. But the diesel version, there's an extra bracket welded on the passenger side frame that's preventing our normal JL front mount from fitting. So our only assumption is has something to do with the diesel. Don't know. They're not out in the wild yet. So we're going to do a little different mount. And if this works out, Mary's probably cringing because she knows what's coming. We may update the JL slider. I don't really think there's a need until we get a diesel one in here and see if my theory is correct. But we'll have to. Byron, I might reach out to you later for a picture if you can get to it. I want to see if that diesel JL has this odd bracket or if it's a JT thing. So we'll sort that out later. But I've got the front mount just about drawn. This afternoon, probably be able to cut one and bend it up. And then we go and attack the rear mount, which the rear mount, still scratching my head a little bit, but I got an idea. These will be a pretty tough slider. You guys know I have Megalander, the Mega Cab 3/4 ton that we wheel with 4 Exploring. That's our camp kitchen. And I lead the groups with that truck, so I have to put that truck in places you probably shouldn't put a Mega Cab 3/4 ton truck. But so far so good. I don't know if you saw our posting from South Dakota last weekend before. I don't know, it all runs together. A couple weeks ago we were in South Dakota and I put the truck through a trail that even guys in 4-door JKs didn't really want to go on because it was that tight, and we took the truck through it. So the truck works pretty well. But on that, it's such a long wheelbase, way longer than a Gladiator. So I've developed or learned a few things. Wheeling that truck, sliders are critical because of the wheelbase. So they have to be pretty stout in order. And then, like Sean's got, let's go back and talk about the truck a minute, and this will all kind of make sense. Obviously already lifted on 37s. He's got a JCR tent rack already got the tent, fuel on this side, water on the other side. He did a backseat delete, and maybe we can show you that. He's got his ARB fridge in there and his camping gear and a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, as usual, Jeeps get heavy. I don't know what the curb weight is on a Gladiator. Have to guess high 4s, if not 5. And you go stacking a bunch of other stuff, a winch and wheels and tires and blah, blah, blah. It will get 6,000 pounds before you know it hit you. So if you're going to wheel one, it's got to have a stout slider on it because you're going to use them, and that's based on wheeling the truck. You know, I built the ones on my truck. We actually pick it up when we service things or fix, repair, whatever on the lift. We pick it up by the sliders, and it supports a 10,000 pound truck all day long. So same in the wild, in the rocks. So these sliders are going to be pretty stout as well. So that's our first foray into the JT world. We'll get those done here. I don't know. Should have a working prototype in the next couple of weeks. Sean and I will go out and putz with him before he goes to Moab, so I can see what they do and don't do, what I like, what I don't like. You know, I wouldn't expect production part till August, you know. So once we get the prototype put together, I'll get some pictures of it. We can custom discuss it. Leave some comments here if there's anything you're looking for in particular. They do have a nice step. One thing I noticed yesterday, it was kind of muddy up. We were up in northern Colorado, on just south of the Wyoming border. Pretty wet up there. Still some patches of snow here and there. So lots of mud. The 37s on the Rubicon flare, the tire sticks out just a little more than the flare, so the entire side of the truck was schmutzed. So obviously we washed it last night, so we didn't have to work on a mud dripping vehicle this morning. But my point is, these sliders on the JK and the JL, they cut down that throw of stuff off the front tire, so it's not really a feature. Well, it's a feature, but it's not, you know. I guess what I'm trying to say is they're wide enough that, yes, that's a feature. They kind of cut down the schmutz on the side of the Jeep. But the real thing is, you know, if you look, I flip this again. There we go. That's a size 14 wide. My whole foot fits on the step easily. Like on a JK or a JL that we've set up for overlanding with these sliders, you can walk up and back and forth down the slider and get to what's on your roof rack. Now, this truck will probably never get an over-the-cab roof rack. We're trying to keep it nice low profile for wind drag and tree clearance. But I could see an over-the-cab style rack, especially if you were trying to haul a bike or a four-wheeler or something of that nature in the bed of the truck. You know, because this JCR roof rack's pretty low profile. So your bed space, your height is kind of limited for those sorts of things. So I can see it in my head, a nice, cool kind of or Baja style, headache rack up and over the cab. Then these sliders would come into play on a Gladiator. You'd have some place to step on to get stuff off the roof rack. And who knows where this Yeah, Frizz, I know you do. I need to either change my Guardians out to Adventure Series or make a hybrid set. Because the Guardians are bitching in the rocks because they're nice and narrow. They're real high, body mounted. They're tough as nails. I beat the hell out of mine on the JK. But my disadvantage when I go overland style or adventure wheeling, they're kind of narrow. I have slipped off of them and caught my shin, and that wasn't pleasant. So I do want to go to a little wider slider on my JK. Because of that, I primarily use it for adventure style wheeling now. My TJ is coming together slowly. For those of you that have paid attention over the years, we're building a pretty badass TJ. Got parts in from Radflow last week. All the coilovers are here now. The air bumps are here, all from Glenn at Radflow and the guys out there. So as soon as we get a few more details cleaned up around the shop and I can rearrange a couple of the long projects that we've been working on, I'm going to bring the TJ back over and start getting going on that. Yeah, good question, Aaron. They do stick out enough. I guess that question can really be answered is how tall is your Jeep? A stock Gladiator, yeah, probably ward off the Hondas and the Toyota, the Accords and Priuses and things of that nature. But a pickup, I'd bet if your Gladiator is not lifted, a pickup truck would still get to them, but put 3-4 inches on them, as I think they should have, and 37s, you'd be pretty safe at the mall. So, let me flip that again so you can get a little perspective. That's the phone right up against the body, so you can see, if you look straight down over the hinge, well, that's a good visual. So yeah, the whole round tube is outside of the door hinge, I guess would be a way to say that. Yeah, F-250 might be a little tall. Just means you got to make your Gladiator bigger, that's all. So, I guess, I don't know, that's the long and short of it today. How was your Memorial Day? Everybody have a good 3-day weekend? Yeah, Chris, the dimple grip, we're kind of known for that. It really helps in the slop, either mud or snow. Get a little traction when you get up there and got to walk up and down them or get in and out of the truck. So that's good for you to be home, Austin. So now you can get that Jeep running. Maybe we can go do something. Oh, absolutely. You need extension sideways. That's a good point. So if you look, let's compare that once. Sorry, I'm gonna flip this again. Nope, gotta do it this way so the camera's at the same angle. So that's looking straight down on the lower front door hinge. So yeah, your factory sliders are inboard. Now let's do the same thing on this side. Sure I got Am I doing that right? Yeah. Camera's at the same perspective. So what Aaron was talking about there is you want a slider that sticks out away from the body, and it's not for door dings. I mean, that is a side benefit, but the real benefit is when you're off-road and you lean the Jeep over, that slider picks up before paint does. We have another local guy here that will also be test fitting these sliders on when we get that far, or potentially having to finish the design on his Jeep. Depends how far I get today. He ran through a snowbank. So they had plowed his parking lot at work, piled the snow up. He drove through the snowbank and crushed his rocker panel on the passenger side. Just snow. You know, everybody knows from the JK on, these Jeeps are pretty light gauge sheet metal to keep the weight down. So in my opinion, as heavy as these are, if you put the factory slider, the Rubicon slider, on a rock, I don't think they're going to live. Just my gut. I don't know if anybody's proven that out in the real world. I know there was a bunch of pretty good-sized crew in Moab over the weekend. I don't know, and I know there was a couple of Gladiators out and about in that group. Jeremy from Rock Crawler, Larry, former owner of Poison Spider. You know, there was a whole bunch of guys out there, and I know that I saw in some of their pictures a few Gladiators in the background. Didn't really see any details, but then again, Moab is not usually, unless you're going to do like Pritchett or Behind the Rocks or you know, Area BFE, some of those things, you typically don't get into rockers in Moab. So, yeah, that's kind of what I figured, Aaron. When we pulled these off this morning, you know, you're like, yeah, not really. It's not really beef. Maybe veal, I don't know, but not beef. So we like beef here. We're in Wyoming, so we're gonna build some beefy sliders. There'll be this version that will go into production. This will be our production piece. But for the guys that are doing tons already and building a lot wider version, I have something planned for them. I don't think this Jeep will ever go there. It's pretty much is what it is at this point. Now just tune it and get everything ready for some summer adventuring. But I know there's a few guys out there that are building them on tons already, so big Jeeps. So the axle's going to get wider. So I don't know what I'll call it. We'll just go with Pro Series for now. I don't know, make something up. Maybe we'll have a contest. It's how we came up with the Guardian name years ago for all of the Guardian line of armor. So yeah, if there's a Gladiator builder or consumer out there that's on tons already, get a hold of me. Send me a message on Facebook. I have an idea, and it's based off of what's on Megalander. On the very back, we put the tube kicks out 2.5, maybe 3 inches wider than the standard door guard tube for the last 18 or 20 inches of the slider. And that has proved to be invaluable in wheeling Megalander. I can get sliding down a rock, and when it gets to that kick out, it actually will push the truck sideways, which has saved the box on numerous occasions. So that could be an option moving forward. I don't think it'll look right on a standard Gladiator stock axle because the tube would be wider than the sidewall, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't know. I might experiment, might whip one up, and once we get all the mounts and the jigs figured out, because then it's easy for us to manipulate tubing and play with that. I may make one and see what it looks like on this. I think it would look silly on a bone stock one, but then again, you really don't need our sliders on a bone stock truck. So, Jim, what are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. So anyway, we were talking about Memorial Day. Anybody go out and do anything fun? I went yesterday, like I said earlier, we went out wheeling, basically just two-tracking. Went and putzed around northern Colorado, south of the Wyoming border, and found some cool places to go camping and just hang out and get away from people. Nothing hard, but neat scenery. Other than that, we didn't kind of worked most of the rest of the weekend. Putzed around the house some. Mary's been painting, so helped her move some stuff, and she was painting while I was out putzing around yesterday. But other than that, hopefully everybody had a good Memorial Day. It's semi or quote unquote official summer now because we're inside of Memorial Day and still got Labor Day on the horizon. Speaking of Labor Day, anybody got any plans for Labor Day? It's another 3-day weekend, kind of traditional end of summer. It's a great time to be in the high country. So we're thinking kind of putting together an impromptu, even though it's 2.5 months away, impromptu Labor Day run. We do have Overland Expo Mountain, I think is what they're calling it. It's the first time they're going to do it here in Colorado. You know, Overland Expo is traditionally outside of Flagstaff, and then for the last couple of years they've been doing a Overland East. They've moved that venue a couple of times. I'm not quite sure where they're going to be this year, but it's, you know, Virginia, North Carolina, you know, somewhere out that way, so way east. And now they're going to do one this year. I think they're calling it Mountain. That's right down the road from us here, about 50, 60 miles at the ranch. Budweiser Event Center. They have a big property there. So as last I heard, that one is still going. You want to pay attention to that one. We'll let out some details. I can't talk about it right now. But there is another local company that we are going to partner with. We are partners. We sell a lot of their stuff. But For Exploring is going to partner with them and lead a group out and about and then deliver them to the expo opening night. So we'll do a little Overland thing to go with Overland Expo. So we'll get details out on that. Our partner is actually the one going to be releasing all the details on that. They were meeting this week to get T's crossed and I's dotted, and so we can make final plans, but that is coming. And then the last thing we got in the not too distant future is Fall Adventure. We're going. It is what it is. You can wear a mask if you think you need to, but I think on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, you probably don't need a mask. You'll only get to see my smiling face making you breakfast and cooking you dinner, and you'll see the back end of Megalander for a week. So we're going to putz around the north rim of the canyon, in and out of Kanab, Utah, that kind of whole area. That's all I'm going to tell you about that, and that's usually more than I do tell you. I usually don't even tell you where we're going, but you know, with all of this stuff going on, we're going to leak a few more details so people can save what vacation they have left or beg, borrow, and steal some vacation, or however that works. October 17th through, shouldn't do math in public, 22nd, Monday to Friday. We'll leave bright and early Monday morning from a destination unknown, and you follow me around for a week. I do all the cooking, you help with the cleaning, and we see some really cool stuff and do some cool stuff, and basically live in the dirt for a week. If you've never been on a For Exploring trip, go over to our For Exploring page, check it out, read some of the comments and past trip reports. Maybe reach out if you see a familiar face or a name reach out to them, see what they think of it. Everybody that's went has had a blast, so we're really looking forward to that. Speaking of past participant, David just joined in. David was a first-timer on our fall last year, right? Is that right, David? Yeah. He had a blast. He's coming back. We have lots of repeat customers, so yeah, if you want to go on this trip, you might want to send an email to info@forexploring.com yesterday. We're pretty much full for that trip, but I can squeeze a couple more. So if you really want to go on that, you really want to send me an email like yesterday. October is not that far away in the big scheme of things. And we've done the North Rim on our own a couple of times. We did it with the Ladies Off-Road Network group last spring. Reach out to some of them gals. That they still talk about it to this day. That was probably one of my favorite trips. It's not real hard wheeling, but where else can you stand on a pinnacle 1,000 foot in the air and look down into the Grand Canyon? It's pretty cool. It is definitely a bucket list trip if you've never been, and who better to go with than somebody that cooks for you. So enough plugs for that. Stay tuned for the Gladiator updates as we get them. While I'm laying under there, I'm seeing much needed skid plate development that needs to be done. So stand by for some skid plates. It's gonna kind of be the summer of the Gladiator, if you will, and JL. We'll finish up. Jason just is in the process of making a batch of our Expedition Series rear bumpers, which is a full width swing out tire carrier bumper, compatible with the backup sensors and all the fancy stuff that comes on JLs. We've had several of them out in the wilds now for the one almost a year. It's doing well. The customer loves it. Has saved her Jeep on several occasions. No more broken taillights. So we have the same treatment coming for the Gladiator here, with a swing out tire carrier. I think the underbody mounted spare just doesn't work. Besides, that is valuable real estate for some other cool things that are spinning around up here. So stay tuned for some more cool Gladiator stuff coming this summer, and we'll update you, as we have news or updates, we'll let you know. And on that, I think I'm going to let you guys go. I've been rambling, for a while. Sorry about the early dumping and then getting back on again. Maybe my social media people can figure out how to splice the two of these together. And with that, have a good week. Keep your head down. Keep your powder dry. And we'll see you next week.